Your diesel fuel looks clean, right? Clear, amber, no drama. Here's the snap. The nozzle grime is not the real villain. The trouble is inside the fuel. Tiny dirt and tiny water droplets ride along, and that is what wrecks injectors and pumps. I've seen too many trucks die from fuel that looked fine. As a safety investigator, I learned this the hard way in shops and in the field. Water and particles cause the greatest damage, not the handle you touch. Small water drops slip past filters, start rust, feed microbes, and grind parts from the inside out. That invisible grit does not care about your warranty, it just keeps moving. So what's really causing modern diesel pump failures? It's not what most folks think. Diesel can pick up water, dirt, and even trace mix-ups anywhere in the chain, from delivery to storage to your tank. Add common biodiesel blends, and now microbes have food and a home. Those hazards flow through your system with every fill. The result is wear that looks random until it isn't. You're watching Recall Roadmap with Morgan, and today I'll show what's in the fuel, how it harms parts, the symptoms, and what you can do to fight back. Have you ever found water or debris in your fuel filter? Good, let's dig in and see what's hiding. Diesel looks clean and oily like fuel should. Stop for a second. It often hides water, slime, and grit so small you cannot see it. Even tiny bacteria and microscopic particles live in diesel. If water gets into a tank, 100 kinds of microbes can grow. They build a slimy layer that breaks loose and heads for your filter. That is the famous diesel bug. Where does it all come from? Rain at the station, condensation in storage, poor handling from truck to tank. Biodiesel blends invite microbes. Free water sinks to the bottom. Emulsified water rides with the fuel. Rust forms on steel parts and flakes off. Soot, dust, and tank scale join the party. Asphaltene clumps, smaller than 2 microns, float along like fine soot. Over time, this stew becomes acids and sludge that plug filters and stick to valve tips. Here is the fast truth. Even a little water makes rust inside pumps and rails. That rust turns into more particles that slip past normal filters and circulate. I have cut open filters that smelled sour and showed brown slime. It is not rare. It is common. Now the big question. What happens when this dirty blend hits a high-pressure injector built with tight, tiny clearances? That's next. New diesels run at wild pressure. That power is great for performance and clean emissions, but it makes tiny dirt a huge problem. Inside a common rail system, the high-pressure fuel pump and injectors live on micron-level clearances. The pump can push in the range of 20 to 30,000 pounds per square inch. At that level, fuel itself must lubricate metal parts. If the fuel carries water or hard grit, it acts like liquid sandpaper. Why do high-tech diesels fail more from dirty fuel than old designs? Pressure and precision. Older systems worked at much lower pressure and wider gaps. Today's pumps use hardened steel plungers and rollers that need ultra-clean fuel. Engineers warn that poor fuel quality is the #1 killer of these pumps. Researchers have also shown that even fine, hard particles can scrape and score injector parts under these loads. You often never see the dirt. You only see the damage. Here's the quick takeaway. Many retail filters and vehicle filters miss the smallest particles. A 30-micron barrier is not enough for modern systems that really need around 10 microns or less. So what do those tiny particles and drops of water actually do once they get inside the pump and into the injectors? Let me show you. Picture a dust speck thinner than a human hair. Now slam it between 2 precision steel parts at tens of thousands of pounds per square inch. That speck now behaves like a cutting tool. Inside the high-pressure pump, water wipes away the thin oil film that protects parts. Corrosion starts almost at once. Rust forms, flakes, and turns into more hard grit. Abrasive particles carve tiny grooves in plungers, cam lobes, and injector needles. When a pump begins to fail, it often sheds metal. Those shavings travel through the rail and into every injector. I have seen filters full of glitter and rails packed with fine debris after just one event. Injectors then clog or get internal scoring. Spray patterns go bad. The engine runs rough, smokes, and loses power. In many cases, the chain reaction means you must replace the pump, rails, lines, and all injectors. That is not a small bill. A full system repair can reach 5 figures and ruin a trip or a season. Fast warning here, cheap filters or long change intervals let the worst stuff through. Once the pump chews itself up, the mess multiplies. By the time you feel it, the damage is already moving. So how does it show up when you turn the key? Your truck starts acting up, and you wonder if it is bad diesel or just a tune issue. Listen to these tells. Hard starts, especially when hot. A rough hunting idle. Low power under load, like towing a hill you used to climb with ease. More smoke than normal. Sometimes it surges, sometimes it stumbles. Often there is no warning light. If water is emulsified, the dash alarm may never trip. The truck can run fine until it does not. Then you get a long crank or a no start. I have seen owners chase sensors and EGR parts for weeks, but the root cause was fuel. Partial injector failure shows up as poor starting, poor idle, and reduced power. If the pump is starting to wear, you may hear a change in sound and feel more vibration. The strongest clue of all shows up at service time. You spin off the fuel filter, pour it out, and see sparkly flakes or brown slime. That is the smoking gun. Quick takeaway. When the engine gets noisy, lazier, and smokier without a clear code, suspect the fuel. Catch it early and you can save the pump. Even if your filters caught some of it, what should you do next when you know the tiny stuff still gets through? We all trust our filters, but many contaminants are smaller than standard filters can catch. Most retail diesel pumps use filters around 30 microns. That stops big junk, not the fine grit that ruins injectors. High-pressure common rail parts often need protection near 10 microns, and many fleets go even finer with a final 2 to 5 micron stage. Think about scale here. A human hair is about 70 microns across. Some bacteria are 2 microns. The bad actors live in that tiny world. Here is the risky part. If a filter loads up, flow can drop so low that the system bypasses or starves. Either way, the pump still gets a slug of the very dirt that was trapped. Add in dissolved water, which no normal filter can grab, and you have the perfect recipe for wear. I have tested fuel straight from a pump that looked clear, yet it sailed right through a 10-micron element with plenty of fines left over. Fast takeaway, your last line of defense is a quality, fine micron setup and timely changes. If this is helping you protect your truck, subscribe for more weekly safety guides and tap like so we can reach more drivers who need this info. Now, what does real fuel testing show? We pulled samples that looked clean and sent them for particle counts. The results were eye-opening. Typical pump diesel carried tens of thousands of hard particles larger than 15 microns in a single liter, and hundreds of thousands above 5 microns. Many samples also showed massive counts of 1 to 3 micron fines, the size range that scrapes precision injector parts. In one large review, more than 1/3 of retail samples failed the cleanliness code often quoted for modern engines. I have seen this in the field too. Filters from everyday trucks show water droplets, brown rust, and metal flakes, even when the fuel seemed okay at the nozzle. It matches what the lab numbers tell us. The truth is simple and tough. The average tank you buy is dirtier than your pump, and injectors can tolerate long-term, unless you help your filtration do more. Quick takeaway, the counts are not abstract. They are what flows through your lines. That is why new pumps and injectors can fail early with no other faults. The good news is you can cut the risk a lot with smart habits and better gear. So, if contamination is this common, who pays when it takes out a pump? Injector or pump failed and the truck is down? Check your warranty language. Most engine warranties exclude damage caused by contaminated fuel. In practice, if a lab test or a teardown shows debris or water, the claim often lands back on the owner. I have sat at those service counters with customers. The answer is cold, but common. If they can show you used contaminated fuel, the bill falls to you. What does that bill look like? If a high-pressure pump sheds metal, repairs can mean a new pump, new injectors, new rails, and flushed or replaced lines. That can stack to many thousands of dollars very fast. Insurance sometimes helps after a clear single event, but many cases get denied as wear or maintenance. It is a hard lesson, and it is why I push prevention so much on this channel. Quick takeaway: the system is built to protect the engine, not to cover dirty fuel mistakes. You need to assume the fuel is suspect and act ahead of time. The good news is, industry is moving toward cleaner standards and better filtration. Are those rules enough yet? Let's talk about where standards are going. There are rules for fuel and for pump filters, but many are not tight enough for modern diesels. A lot of dispensers use about 30 micron elements because that is what the rulebook calls for. That stops the big stuff, not the fines that eat injectors. Cleanliness codes like ISO 4406 set targets for particle counts, and the Worldwide Fuel Charter gives recommended purity ranges. Yet real samples often miss those marks. Experts now urge much finer filtration at the pump, around 10 microns, with options down to 2 to 5 microns where needed. Some travel centers already invest in better systems and high turnover, which means fewer complaints. Additive makers are working on deposit control and water handling, and distributors are watching storage tanks more closely to keep water out. Fast takeaway: the bar is rising, but it is not universal yet. You cannot count on every stop to meet what your injectors need. Meanwhile, you still have to protect your own engine. The fix is not fancy. It is smart fueling, smart filtration, and smart maintenance, done on time. Let me give you a simple checklist you can start today that will cut the risk fast. Dirty fuel can ruin your day and your wallet, but you have real control. Start with filtration. Use a high-quality primary and add a fine final stage in the 2 to 5 micron range if your setup allows it. Change filters early, not late. Do not wait for a dash light to tell you there is water. Drain your water separator on a schedule, like once a week or after questionable fills. Even a little water starts corrosion inside. Fuel where the tanks turn over fast and the site is well kept. Busy truck stops with good maintenance tend to have fewer issues. Keep spare filters in the truck. If you feel hard starts, rough idle, or a sudden drop in power after a fill, act right away. Swap the filter, check for water, and consider a quick fuel sample test. A small move today can save a pump tomorrow. Quick takeaway: protect the system before it fails. Fine filtration, clean fuel sources, and simple drain habits/risk. Which step will you take first after hearing this? More frequent filter changes, a bigger filtration upgrade, or choosing a different fuel source? Hold that thought, and I'll wrap this up with the key lesson. We solved the mystery. Dirty diesel is not about the pump handle. It is about unseen water, microbes, and grit inside the fuel that chew up injectors and pumps. We saw how high-pressure systems need ultra-clean fuel, how particles and water cause scoring and rust, and the real-world signs like hard starts, rough idle, and smoke. Lab numbers backed it up, and we walked through what you can do right now to cut the risk. Reality beat belief. Fuel cleanliness matters more than most people realize. Protecting your engine with better filtration, good fueling habits, and steady water drains is far easier than paying for a $4,000 pump or a 5-figure system rebuild. This is Recall Roadmap with Morgan. If this helped you, please subscribe for weekly safety guides and hit like and share to help another driver avoid a breakdown. Thanks for watching. Before you go, I want to hear from you. Which protective measure will you put in place first to avoid a pump or injector bill, upgrading your filter, draining water more often, or something else? Tell me why, and I'll see you in the next one.